How to homeschool math. This is one of those big questions. If you're not a natural mathematician, then it may be one of the things that really plagues you. By the end of this video, you're going to have an introduction of how to homeschool math, the philosophy of what it means to homeschool math, or the origin story of what I eventually created to be a math roadmap. But this is going to be a 3 or 4-part series about teaching math for homeschool. But it starts with a headache. I have 5 sons, and I wish this is one of those things that I wish I could go back and I could whisper to my younger self. I wish someone had told me. I wish someone had told me. By the time my oldest son was in his junior year of high school, he was struggling with daily migraines. And the reason was he was struggling through getting great grades in calculus. We had pushed him through math because he could. We pushed him to the next level. Never for a second pausing to consider, just because he can do it, should he? And what ended up happening was you need 3 years of high school math where he was attending high school. And we had consolidated his math and pushed him through in a way that by the time he got to his junior year in high school, his only option was to take calculus. But there was a problem. He was huge headaches every day because he's not a mathematician. Oh my goodness. If I could go back and I could tap myself on the noggin, I would say, Bekki, look at your kids. If they're not mathematicians, they don't really need those higher maths of calculuses and things. And so I kind of changed our philosophy at that point. And I thought, okay, they don't need to be boxed into doing calculus. So with the younger 4, I got a little bit smarter. And we decided that we wouldn't allow them to even advance into algebra until they were in high school. It sounds really cool that your 5th grader is doing algebra, or that your next door neighbor's kid is in algebra 2 in 6th grade or whatever. But do they really need to be there? Do they know all of their fundamental math inside and out before they advance into the higher math? Are they developmentally ready for the letters and the weird symbols that start to come in and fry brains? Right at the time that your kids are being infused with hormones is the same time that they start to go, well, wait a minute, letters in math? Why? Crazy symbols in math? Why? So we pulled back. We decided that we would hold the kids back in math, develop their foundation in math until high school, and then if they were mathematicians, we would release them and they would go further. They would get through algebra, but we weren't going to push them or allow them to go into the calculuses unless they were really into it. Turns out, okay, so then son number 2 worked great. Son number 3 worked great. When we went to go enroll him in concurrent high school, meaning for his junior year in high school, he was also going to be starting his associate's degree. This is a program that was a good fit for our family, may not be a good fit for you, but this is where I learned the most amazing. I wish I knew this back at the beginning. So he goes to take his placement tests. These are not, are you smart? Are you not smart? Do you get it? Do you not get it? The whole purpose of these placement tests is so that you get shuttled into the class that's appropriate for your mathematic level. And you take these placement tests in both English and mathematics. And so my son missed the college level placement so that he could go into the classes that he wanted to take by 1 point. So after he got over the frustration, I said, well, you have 2 options. One, you can take the lower math class in the fall, Or we can spend the next few weeks and we can just make sure that you understand all of the foundations in math. And he chose to study and to retake the exam. And this is where the math road map was born. Because as we went through and we studied for the test is called an AccuPlacer. Again, it's not a graded test. It's just to help the kids get placed into math. And this is where I could finally clearly see mathematics. I don't know how many people I've told that by the time my youngest son graduates, I will be excellent homeschooler that I always wished I could have been. And sure enough, after 25 years, some of these things are way more clear to me now than they were back at the beginning. And math is one of those things. When we were going through and studying for this AccuPlacer test together, we were looking at, and we went and picked all these study tools and all these things to help us online. So we had workbooks and printouts and online videos. Suddenly, math became clear to me as this roadmap. There are really only three basic directions of math, not directions, categories of math. The first one is arithmetic. Arithmetic is where most of our kids need to be foundationally. And we move them through so fast that they don't become experts in arithmetic. And these are the things that our kids should really know: adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, fractions, decimals, percentages, measurements, those core things that we need in order to move through life successfully. Then there is algebra, which has all of the bells and whistles of algebra, which really, I have a whole video on right after I discovered this. I created this math roadmap. So when you go to this site, and I'll show you, this is my website. And when you go there, you will see, pull it up so that you can see what it looks like. Right at the top, I did a full math roadmap, and I explain the different areas of math and how simple they are, kind of. And then right here, there is a free everyday math for our kids to master before they graduate. So if you click there, you can get this printout for free. The reason that this was so instrumental is because it stopped being about going to the next level of math, and instead it became all about girding up the foundation. Do the kids really understand percentages and fractions and measurements and all of their fundamental math? Because as a school teacher way back in the day, what I found that by the time I had kids, I taught fifth and sixth grade. By the time I had kids in my classroom, the problem wasn't that they weren't ready for the higher math necessarily. The problem was is that they had holes in their foundation. And it's really easy to push kids on to the next level because they're in second grade or third grade or fourth grade, and you don't want them to be left behind. So they neglect to do things like memorize their multiplication and division families, or addition and subtraction families, or understanding the relationships of decimals to percentages and fractions and stuff. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is to grab your everyday list of what kids should learn before they graduate high school. This is super enlightening. These are the the arithmetic concepts that kids need to know by the time they graduate high school. Now, we're going to talk about curriculum a little bit. We're going to talk about ways to teach homeschool math. But really, it comes down to these types of concepts, and they build naturally on each other, and they work beautifully with or without a math workbook. The reason that we lean on a math curriculum is because we don't really know what we're shooting for. We don't know what a third grader should learn. So therefore, we get a third grade math book Then we open it up and we have a heart attack, possibly, because we might not remember how to do whatever the concept is, and then the book itself can be confusing. So curriculum, take that idea of what math curriculum I should be teaching and set that aside and start with your math roadmap. What are the concepts that your kids need to know by the time they graduate high school mathematically? 90 to 97% of our kids need to know arithmetic stuff, all the basic stuff, and a basic concept of algebra. The idea that you can substitute a letter for a number, the same way that you would go blank plus 4 equals 7. That blank is a placer. In algebra, you would put an X there or a Q or an S or something. So understanding basic algebra. And then out of all 5 of my kids, only one is a mathematician. If your kids have a natural bent towards math and this need to know, then goodness gracious, by the time they get to touch the higher algebras and the pre-calculuses and the geometries, if you decide to do geometries, if you decide to do those things, if you hold them back and give them that firm foundation in arithmetic, they will thrive in the higher maths. But if you allow them to dabble with it too young, their brains aren't quite wired right yet, most of them, to handle those advanced concepts confidently and competently. But by waiting until they're older in high school, now not only are they ready attitude-wise to conquer those maths, but they're also ready developmentally to handle those higher concepts about things that would really, they just hurt. They cause big headaches. If you're not ready, if you're not a mathematician, then they just can cause so much drama in math. So as far as an introduction goes to this, how to homeschool math, start with, do you understand where you're going? Do you have your math roadmap? Do you clearly get that developmentally, when they're young, when they're little, they need to know their numbers and their shapes and that kind of thing? Do you know that then they work into their fact families, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and then they build on those things? It's worth spending extra time to develop those fundamental math foundations before you move into other things. So in the next video, we are going to be talking about tips for how you can use your math curriculum rather than just turning and doing the next lesson. So are you ready? I will see you in part 2.